Hello, everyone. Just give it a minute here and we will get started. But this is Benjamin Lindsay, managing editor at Backstage. Very excited to be joined by Skylar Astin this afternoon. He is, of course, joining us for season 2 of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. So, really excited to pick his brain and speak with him a bit about it. It's the big premiere day for season 2. So, should be plenty to talk about.
Hi, Benjamin.
Hey, Skylar, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Good, good. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too, in front of all
Yeah,
people.
yeah, right, right. How's it going today?
It's good. It's good. I'm day one back into part two of my quarantine because I had to come back. I got to go home to California for 2 weeks, only to return here for 14 days indoors
Mm.
without leaving.
Yes, yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, but
So glad,
excited promoting the new season, and it's like it's filling my days now, so that's nice.
yeah, yeah. I mean, happy premiere day. This is
Thank
a big day for you. But yeah, I feel like everyone is just doing what they got to do to take care of themselves. Obviously, it's still crazy times all
you.
this time later. So I'm glad to see that you're staying well, the family's well, everything's good.
Family as well. I miss them dearly. I haven't been able to go back to New York too long, so I miss them very much. But no, safety is paramount, not only in my personal life, but here in Vancouver and on set. It's a totally new normal. I mean, for as long as we need to deal with it.
Right, exactly, exactly. So you were filming actually during kind of COVID parameters, doing the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, we started in August. And did the 2 week quarantine, and now we have literally like scientists on set in lab coats. It's just there's a whole operation surrounding the big operation of filming, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not really what any of us signed up for, but it sounds like you're dealing with it okay.
We've adjusted. It took a minute, but we've adjusted, so now I
Yeah,
know exactly what I'm getting myself into.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear all that. And again, congrats on season 2.
Thank
I'm
you.
such a big fan of the show and of yours for years at this point. Just to get started, how about you tell us a bit about what's to come? I know season 1 kind of left with a nice cliffhanger, some developments between Max and Zoe's relationship.
Right.
So what can you tease for what's in store this evening?
This evening, well, we're gonna see Max about like 6 to 7 weeks after he's been fired from Spark Point.
Hmm.
7 weeks after he's made out with Zoe and had it interrupted by a really awful phone call that resulted in eventually Mitch's death. Uh, so how those kind of two things interplay, how Max and Zoe are going to broach this in this very difficult time, if they talk about it, and how that will be received, and kind of where they've both been. It's weird. Could you imagine like having your first kiss with somebody that you've been in love with and then having to wait 7 weeks to kind of like deal with it?
Right.
And having that reflection on just this one moment, like whether or not you build that up in your head too much, whether or not you ended up regretting that, triple down, quadruple down. So you'll see all of that fall out tonight.
Yeah, yeah. I'd probably be more of the camp of playing it up in my head and
Oh,
reading into it. So plenty for you to play with, at least.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, what has been the most gratifying part about bringing this character to the screen now for 2 seasons? I feel like it's every theater kid's dream to be in a musical TV show like this. So, yeah, just tell us about what's been your favorite part playing him.
Well, I just thinking in the lines of season two, I'll say that my most favorite part now or throughout this time has been not only establishing Max in how he is with Zoe and at her work life and his work life, but now that he's been removed from that work life and had some time away from Zoe, even we now get to kind of like explore his family life a little bit, his background, his dreams, and what he wants to do with his life. And we do that a lot this season, even mostly professionally, which is kind of cool.
Interesting. Okay. And in a TV show like this, going into season 2, do you kind of have a roadmap to where it's all going to go, or what's the actual process look like between the writing, production, and then you actually bringing it to screen?
So what's weird is in season one, I felt more, I won't say like involved, but maybe I involved myself a lot. Like I was very curious. And
Hmm.
I had a great relationship with Austin Winsberg, the creator, and he would give me little nuggets and even like consult me about certain things, especially musically. And this year, we've all, I mean, with so much going on, and also now it being a totally different operation that's being run remotely,
Mhm.
I think that like it's been kind of nice to kind of take it moment to moment. I do have a general outline of where I'm going, but we're on episode 8 right now. And like, I know what I'm doing in episode 8 because we did the read through. I heard things about 9. I don't know anything about 10, don't know anything about 11, don't know anything about 12, and I know some cool things about the finale.
Okay.
So like,
So
I,
you kind of have the bookends in place.
yeah,
And
I think I know everything I need to know, and I kind of like that. It's not even so much keeping me in the dark, but like things change, and I also just have like faith in the show, in the creator, in the writers' room, and like it's been kind of nice. The show has been established now. The tone has been established. The
mhm.
rules have been established. Season 1 was a lot about that, so I feel like we had to all be involved as a collective unit. But once we saw it, and even had like the fans react, we kind of like know where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, to rewind a bit, I'm sure you're familiar with Backstage. Our readership and much of our audience today is kind of the early career folks of film, TV, theater. So take us back to when the performing arts actually became a professional, viable option for you, and at what point did they start playing a role in your life, and when did you decide to pursue it professionally?
Well, first of all, I used to subscribe to Backstage like print, and I used to go to the section where the open calls were for
Yeah,
non-equity.
of course.
I would go. I forgot which. Like I went to a couple. Like I think a Hairspray audition.
Hmm.
Got through like a dance call of, and then didn't did. But I got to meet the creative team, which was cool. So I got to do that through Backstage.
Not bad.
It was about 16. I started doing theater locally in New York in the tri-state area, and then was very lucky to be afforded some opportunities to audition for some like kind of high profile workshops
Mm,
and people in New York cutting their teeth right now know what I'm talking about there. And it's a pretty big talent pool. But when you get that reading, it's really exciting because you get to work with certain directors and choreographers and producers, and sometimes that results in a production. I was
mhm.
lucky that when I was 16, one of my like third workshops that I ended up booking was Spring Awakening.
Of
It was
course. Yeah.
at American Song. Um, we did a full-on concert for all these investors and all these people. And then about a year later, it went into production at the Atlantic Theater, and then yeah, we ended up transferring. And I don't know if you lost me, but I lost you there for a second.
Just for a sec, you froze up a bit, but we seem good now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, basically what I was saying is like a year after that reading, it went to the Atlantic Theater off Broadway. Then it ended, and then it eventually transferred, and then it ended up running on Broadway. So that kind of took me through like 16 with a year hiatus, 17 through like 19 was that time.
Right. I mean, that must have been a whirlwind introduction to what a career in the arts can actually look like. Was it always envisioning something like Zoe's coming along? Did you want film and TV, or was it theater from the start?
It was theater only from the start. I
Yeah.
couldn't even imagine myself doing a TV or film. Ended up I ended up getting an audition for Hamlet 2, which was my first movie I ever did, and everyone in Spring Awakening was auditioning for it. So we were such a great we had such a great platform, obviously, on Broadway, that like anytime there was a mini series or something casting in New York remotely, we would all kind of go out for it. And I remember all of us kind of went out for Hamlet 2. And then like a month after that, I ended up booking it, begged the producers to do a leave of absence for 4 weeks while I filmed this movie in New Mexico. And then that movie ended up like doing very well at the Sundance Film Festival,
Yeah, yeah.
where I knew it. I was signed by a great agency who was trying to lure me out to Los Angeles to do what I now know as pilot season. And over the course of that year, I ended up booking a pilot, and my agent actually gave me his car. He had just he and his now husband had this like car that they never used. They got this new car, and he's like, I might need it back for some weekend trips, but basically I'll loan you my car so you could come out here from February till April, and then when you book a show, I will take my car back and negotiate a rental for whatever that duration is.
Right.
the pilot ended up not going, but I was then like, all right, I think I have to figure out a way how to like, I used that pilot money to kind of pay for my rent for that year. Yeah, I've been in LA ever since. And now I'm kind of bi-coastal, as you'd call it.
Right, right. At least not during these times, but understood.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I feel like that's just a lesson in kind of flying by the seat of your pants sometimes and seeing where one thing leads, how one thing leads to the next.
Right.
I'd love to hear 16-year-old you when you're first getting a start. What's one piece of advice that you would give him? What's one thing you wish you knew back in the day?
I will say, I kind of always had a pretty good perspective on all of it. I used to like kind of go, I don't know if this is good advice to people starting out now, but I would go against the grain a little bit and like kind of do some different choices in my auditions, not even scenes that I was given, but like, I remember I used to sing New York State of Mind for like pop theater stuff. Like I would take, I'm sure that's done now more often, but at the time it was a little alien for someone to come in a song that wasn't a proper musical theater song. I also did, I'm not, I promise this isn't me like just giving myself credit, but something that I did that I would then give other people advice to do is to just say yes to everything. Feels wrong for like moral reasons or something like that. But generally, as far as gigging is concerned, like there was a summer when I was doing Spring Awakening where, you know, you do 8 shows a week and you are, you know, you from 5 p.m., unless if it's a 2-show day till 11 plus, you are like giving 150% of your efforts. But I said yes to every reading that I was either offered or my agent, you know, got me an audition for. And in the room with, you know, James Lapine twice, Joe Mantello, Dolly Parton, insane, you know, people, things that were in the works. And it wasn't taboo. I don't think it still is to do the workshop and get it to that next level. And I remember Joe Mantello, when I was doing the workshop for 9 to 5, like over to me, is like, you're not going to do this if it goes, right? Because it was just like a very small part, but I just wanted to be a part of the ensemble and I wanted to get a taste of that. And I wanted to be in the room with all these, like I could give you names that you'd be like, Joshua Henry was next to me in the bass section. Like another ensemble member freshly out of college, now a huge star. I don't regret a single day of that, even as much as it might have been exhausting sometimes to go straight from that rehearsal right to the Eugene O'Neill and like clock in for, you know, my show that night. I was just, when you're cutting your teeth, you just want to work with everyone and be in the room.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you do want to say yes, unless, of course, it's morally compromising and whatnot. But you even if it's worth just doing the rehearsal period or just doing the reading and being in the room, that's great advice for.
And that's not just like, I mean, who would say no to working with a director? But I'm saying that's at every level. I mean, like I remember. Just off the top of my head at the time, Wesley Taylor was doing webisodes for something that, you know, was before really YouTube was an outlet and that could give you any sort of, any outlet really. But you're just saying yes to buddies and friends and helping and doing and sharing and learning. Like sometimes like you can be more free to make choices because stakes are a little lower. It's just all a learning curve and a learning experience.
And with that in mind, have you specifically been staying kind of creatively full during this period? Obviously filming since August has kept you busy, but during that lull in the summer, did you find yourself needing to go back to these saying yes tricks, doing something online with friends?
Yes, I did. I did a lot, especially at the start. I also kind of hit this stride where I was home for the first time in a long time, fully home in LA. And I have my childhood piano that I years ago flew out from New York. So I had this beautiful grand piano that I was able to really like re-explore. And I started to like play these cover songs. And I would post them on my Instagram just for fun, super like raw and uncut. I do not watch those back, but I do. But that kind of led me to finding my voice a little bit as an artist, and I decided to make an album. And I have like 7 songs pretty much done. I mean, now I'm using this amazing mixing engineer and this amazing mastering engineer, so they're like 85% done, I'd say. But they're recorded. I've done all the orchestrations and the vocal arrangements. So like yeah, I'm on my way with that. I'm not sure how I'm going to distribute it yet. Of course, like the goal is to get it to everyone in some way, shape, or form. I just don't know, since I've done it so independently. I think there's like value in kind of releasing it independently. I'm going to look into that, obviously.
Yeah.
That was just from a pure creative like aspect, was super rewarding. Um, I've written a film script with my writing partner, Danny Jollis. This really fun family holiday movie that, you know, is in my agent's hands now. So we'll see. But like, you know, keeping busy, but honestly, not putting too much pressure on myself to like, you know,
Yeah.
do that. My first like thought, I have an ability sometimes to zoom out of situations that I'm in. And
Hmm.
like, sounds really silly, but in March when the NBA was canceled, I went, oh my God, this is at least a year. I just like, for some reason, was like, I'm just going to overshoot. I'm just going to say this is at least a year. Like, what do I need? And how am I going to get through this? What if I have to stay inside for over a year? And not to say I predicted the future, but now looking back, we can all say that that was pretty much an inevitability.
Hmm.
So I had done a lot of like self-reflection, being alone before that, over like the 2019 time, that I worked on myself quite a bit in therapy, creatively, and kind of I was ready to almost hit the ground running in that creative standpoint. But I
Yeah.
really didn't put any pressure on myself
Yeah.
to creative and to like have something to show for this time. I think a lot of people were feeling the pressure to like, well, I gotta, what am I gonna do? I gotta like show something, like, or
Right.
else like I was just here like eating snacks all the time. Like that's embarrassing.
Right.
Uh, but I had a couple weeks of eating snacks all the time, and it was
Oh,
kind of,
absolutely. Yeah.
and so I think it was just about pacing myself and like not putting pressure. Like I don't think I've written a new song properly since October or September. And like I probably need a song or two. Like I was actually thinking of emailing uh my co-creator of the album to be like, let's get back at one. But I didn't want to rush myself.
Yeah. Well, I think that that is such an important point that you can't put the pressure on the product.
Mm.
It should be about the process. If you're fulfilling something for yourself, then that's kind of what matters at the end of the day. I think it's pretty beautiful that this period of difficulty could get you back to your musical roots in a way, and now you have an album coming out, but it's not, again, it's not about the product. That's an important lesson. Yeah.
And when have we been afforded that like ability? You know, we're
Right.
always like, even when we're doing these readings, to go back to that, it's always like, do you think it's going to go to Broadway? Like I hear this theater and this producer's into it, who's in the house tonight, and there's so much of that, it's unavoidable, and it's not a bad thing, it's just kind of one of the natures of the business we're in.
Right, right. But now, the nature of this time is that it can kind of force you to take a step back. That's
That,
great. Well, another value of this time is that there is some great TV to catch up on. I am very excited for season two. Just going into it, what are you hoping audience get from season two, and what are you most looking forward to?
I hope they get a really nice escape, especially this season.
Hmm.
You know, we've laid Mitch to rest, which is really sad and heartbreaking, but it's a lot about stepping back out into the world. And I've watched a couple of the episodes now, and I couldn't help but think, I asked a couple of the other cast members, I'm not sure if they thought the same thing, but like I couldn't help but think there's a lot of themes about like Zoe stepping back out, going back to work at an office, and like what that's like. And we really want to be an escape from the pandemic. There's no masks. We don't really acknowledge it. Since we're living in a fictional world where people could hear someone's thoughts through song, I don't think we felt necessary to have like, you know, Purell in every moment.
Right, to stick to reality too much. Yeah.
I think it would date the show, and I do believe that this show will stand the test of time. So I think it's smart that we're not like pigeonholing season two, but there's unavoidable parallels, and I think that that's a good thing. I think like that we're letting the work speak for itself, and you can draw what you want from it. So if you like really connect to Max's journey, if you really connect to Mo's journey, which is beautiful, Simon's, Tobin's, Zoe's, Maggie, you know, it's really exciting. I'm just excited to like see the response.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just listing the cast right now. I mean, what a stellar cast. It's we're definitely up for some fun this season. I'm excited. But looking through my questions, that's all I have for you today. This was such a great time to just have your ear for a moment. Thanks for sharing
Yeah,
with me.
it flew by. I could talk for hours.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll let you get to the next obligation for season two. But But we'll see you next time. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you. Pleasure talking.
Stay well. Bye bye.